Hospital buzzed with energy, a constant hum of urgency that lingered in the air. Dr. Miguel Rivera navigated the bustling corridors, paper charts clutched tightly in his hand. The sterile scent of antiseptic filled his lungs, mingling with the distant sounds of medical equipment beeping, a rhythm he had grown accustomed to. But today he felt heavier, as if the weight of every life within these walls pressed down on him. In room 210, Lucy Williams lay still, her fragile frame enveloped by the crisp white sheets. Once vibrant and full of life, Lucy now faced the inevitability of loss, her health rapidly deteriorating. Miguel stepped inside, greeted by the soft laughter of her family surrounding her bedside. They exchanged stories, reminiscing about Lucy's joy, each chuckle punctuated by the shadows looming over their hearts. Yet, for Miguel, their joy felt like a distant echo. A flicker of longing ignited deep within him, an unfulfilled dream that danced just out of reach. His heart twisted as Lucy's family celebrated their last moments together, but instead of embracing joy, he found himself trapped in melancholy. What could he offer them that would ease their pain? His role as a healer felt useless against such profound sorrow. Just then, whispers of excitement surged through the corridors. George Strait was coming to visit Lucy. The news electrified the atmosphere. Staff members and patients alike buzzed with anticipation, and that familiar name stirred something deep within Miguel. For years, he had buried his own dreams of music beneath medical texts and responsibilities, but the buzz faded into a quiet ache as he stood still at the threshold of Lucy's room, feeling both part of the excitement and completely detached. He watched everyone around him share smiles, laughter, and gratefulness, reminding him of a time when his own heart resonated with such freedom. Elena, the compassionate nurse by his side, noticed his discomfort. "Miguel, it's okay to feel what you're feeling. It's a beautiful moment, but it's hard to hold on to joy when there's so much pain." Her voice was a soothing balm, pulling him out of his spiraling thoughts. "I know that joy is important, but right now I feel lost," Miguel admitted, rubbing the back of his neck, feeling the tension coiling there. "I'm supposed to be the one helping them, but I'm not even sure how to help myself." Elena's eyes sparkled with understanding. Life and music intertwine in ways we can't always predict. Sometimes it helps to remember where we came from, to embrace our dreams again. Her words hung in the air as he took a breath, eyes wandering back to Lucy. The laughter and stories surrounding her were a testament to hope. Yet in that moment, Miguel felt a profound emptiness. Memories of him singing with his father, each note sharp with nostalgia, floated in his mind. Dreams he had set aside for the sake of duty. As the anticipation of George's arrival spread through the hospital, Miguel stood at a crossroads, trapped between the lives he supported and the life he had left behind. He yearned to reconnect with the music that had once filled his heart, a ghostly melody waiting to be resurrected. Would he allow himself to dream again amidst the pain? Please confirm if you would like to proceed with Block 2, The Past and the Roots. As Miguel stood there, his heart yearning for the past, the whispers of his childhood called to him like an old song. Flashes of memories flooded his mind, moments where laughter echoed through the halls of his home, where music was as vital as the air they breathed. He could picture it vividly, the early evenings spent in the living room, his father seated in an old wooden chair, guitar in hand. The warm glow from the lamp cast golden hues upon their faces, the world outside fading to silence. "Miguel, come here. Let's practice that song again," his father's voice rang out, full of encouragement. The boy would run over, his small fingers eager to pluck the strings alongside his father's steady chords. Music had been their language, a bond that transcended the mundane struggles of daily life. "Hold that note longer. Feel it, son." His father's laughter intertwined with the melodies, leaving echoes of joy that would linger in Miguel's heart. He remembered dreaming of stages and crowds, a life filled with music and the adoration of fans. But as adolescence arrived, so did the burden of expectations, an ever-present reminder that the family legacy was not in song, but in service. "Medicine is a noble path, Miguel," his mother had said gently during one evening's conversation, the weight of her voice crushing his youthful ambitions. The proud family of musicians had shifted their hopes onto him. The guitar was replaced with textbooks, and dreams of notes turned into formulas. Eventually, he had abandoned the dream, sinking into the responsibilities that would, ironically, strip him of the music that once defined him. Suddenly, the cheerful hum of the hospital snapped him back to the present. The excitement about George's visit heightened the mood across the wards. Miguel peeked through the doorway of Lucy's room, where her family gathered, their faces alight with anticipation. He caught a glimpse of Lucy's smile, an ember of joy amidst despair, and felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. As the minutes passed, George Strait arrived, his presence commanding the small space and drawing everyone's attention. The familiar notes began to waft through the air, transporting Miguel back to those cherished childhood moments. George's voice painted images that stirred his heart, a reminder of everything he had forsaken. The room erupted into enthusiasm as he sang, his guitar weaving stories that resonated. Miguel watched in awe, feeling emotions swelling like waves crashing against the shore. Joy surged in Lucy and her family, wrapping them in warmth, and Miguel couldn't help but feel that spark glimmer again within his own chest. But as George performed, Miguel felt an unexpected wave of shame sweep over him. It was a brilliant display of what could be, yet here he stood, trapped in a life that felt disjointed from the rhythm of his true self. The more he watched, the more he realized how emotionally disconnected he was from everything he once loved. "Hey!" Elena nudged him, her eyes soft with understanding. "Want to go inside?" He hesitated but finally nodded, pushing through the doorway as George sang a heartfelt ballad that echoed in his chest. "Occasionally people mistake us for saving lives," Elena said while gently nudging him forward. "But magic happens in moments like these, Miguel. Music has a healing quality." As Miguel stood next to Lucy's bed, the melody wrapping around them like a comforting shawl, George glanced in his direction and offered an encouraging smile. "You know, even doctors need to remember to let music heal their souls." Tears brimmed in Miguel's eyes as Lucy's family applauded enthusiastically, pulling him deeper into the circle of warmth and hope. "It really is beautiful," he murmured. "Lucy would love to hear you play," Elena urged softly. "You were once happy with your guitar, weren't you?" "I was," he admitted, the memories crashing back like a tidal wave. "But I don't know if I can anymore. What if I'm just a shadow of what I once was? I chose this life, Elena." "Miguel, that doesn't mean you cannot change paths," she replied, her voice steady. "Music is a part of you. Look at how it lights up Lucy's eyes. You can still find that joy within yourself." As George sang another verse, Miguel closed his eyes and let the music resonate through him, each note tugging at memories buried deep. "Maybe it's time I reconnect with that part of myself." His voice barely rose above a whisper, but the realization was profound. He glanced back at Lucy, who seemed to glow with joy, savoring every note. For the first time in years, a flicker of hope sparked as he recognized something vital. Perhaps this moment wasn't just a visitation by a famous artist. It was a chance to rediscover the melodies that had long been silenced. As the final chord rang out and applause filled the space, Miguel felt different. The weight he had carried began to lift. Surrounded by those who cherished music, he could hear the whispers of his past echoing sweetly, beckoning him home. "You can do this," he thought to himself, holding tightly to the choices he had buried. "Maybe it's time to find my own song again. Please confirm if you would like to continue with Bill Block 3, The Fall and the Loneliness." Days turned into weeks after that transformative visit, yet the echoes of George's voice lingered in Miguel's heart. The hospital, once a relentless whirlwind of life and duty, now felt lighter, almost like a blank canvas waiting to be painted anew. But beneath this hopeful facade lay a storm of emotions that Miguel struggled to contain. With each day, he found himself retreating deeper into memories that danced in the periphery of his consciousness. He conjured images of his father strumming a guitar in their living room, the sound weaving through their home, filling it with laughter. The excitement of those evenings surged within him, only to clash with the relentless demands of his medical career. The burden of responsibility clawed at him, stifling his creativity, leaving him feeling more isolated with every patient he encountered. One evening, as Miguel pored over patient charts, the fatigue settled heavy in his bones. Each name he read, each story he crossed paths with, echoed in the hollowness of his heart. He recalled Elena's words about the healing power of music, a notion buried under layers of shame and regret. As he walked the sterile hospital corridors, shadows clawed at his spirit. The hum of machines and distant chatter only amplified his loneliness. In the break room, Elena was a beacon of light amidst the gloom. "Miguel," she called, her eyes reflecting genuine concern. "You've been distant. Want to talk?" Taking a breath, he faced her, the weight of frustration spilling over. I thought I could go back to the guitar, to music, but I feel overwhelmed by guilt. I'm a doctor. I've committed myself to this life. Eleanor crossed her arms, unwavering. But that doesn't mean you cannot nurture your passion. Those two things can coexist, you know. Silence lingered between them as Miguel fought to express his whirlwind of doubt. What if I can't? What if I fail? I've made my choices, and I can't turn back. Have you even tried? She pushed gently, her tenderness cutting through his haze of self-doubt. Believe me, you owe it to yourself to try. Those words echoed in his mind as he returned home that night. The shadows of his living room felt more oppressive than usual. He hesitated, opening the closet that concealed his guitar, a relic of his youthful dreams. Dust motes danced in the dim light as he lifted it out. Memories washed over him like a current, yet the fear of disappointment loomed larger. Sitting on the couch, he strummed a few chords, the sound filling the room with warmth. But as every note resonated against the walls, dread crept in, overshadowing the fleeting beauty. What if I can't find that part of myself anymore, he whispered, the weight of hopelessness heavy upon him. He closed his eyes, yearning for the joy that had once been so woven into his life. The laughter, the connection. It felt like a lifetime ago. With every passing day, the demands of his medical career intensified, leaving little room for the flickering desires he harbored. As patients' faces filled his thoughts, he often found himself scribbling lyrics in the margins of patient charts, a desperate attempt to grasp at the music he could feel slipping away. As the week began to fade, Miguel sensed the internal battle swelling within him. He wore the guise of a dedicated doctor, but his heart ached for the notes of joy he had locked away. Each day in the hospital felt like a melody lacking its crescendo, and tonight, as he looked out the window at the stars, a glimmer of hope flickered within him. Perhaps he didn't have to choose between his responsibilities and his passion. With a deep breath, he promised himself he would try to integrate those threads into his life. Maybe tomorrow will be different, he murmured, a fragile hope beginning to spark as he set the guitar down. It became a mantra, whispered in the quiet of night, ignited by whispers of old family songs. Music, he realized, was not just an escape. It could interlace with his life, coloring his reality with joy, hope, and connection. Please confirm if you would like to continue with Block 4, The Rebirth. The dawn of a new day broke softly over the small town, casting a warm glow across Miguel's bedroom. Sunlight poured through the window, illuminating the dusty corners of the room and dancing over the old guitar resting against the wall. The promise of a fresh start hung in the air, and for the first time in years Miguel felt invigorated. Today, he whispered to himself, determination threading through his voice, I'll find a way to let music back in. After a morning spent completing his rounds at the hospital, Miguel returned home with a sense of purpose that propelled him. This was no longer about merely fulfilling the duties of a doctor. It was about stitching the torn seams of his life back together. The first step came instinctively as he went to retrieve the guitar. He cradled it in his arms, feeling its weight grounding him, while the familiar scent of polished wood filled his lungs. Sitting on the couch, he took a deep breath and let his fingers glide over the strings, feeling the vibrations resonate deep within his soul. With tentative progressions, he strummed a few chords, hesitant at first, but the sounds coaxed out the memory of old songs and half-formed lyrics he breathed life into years ago. Suddenly, the room transformed. The walls were no longer dull, they echoed with warmth and hope. Miguel began to play, heart racing as the notes flowed from his fingertips. Each strum breathed life into the melodies he thought he had lost, a stirring reminder of carefree evenings with his father. He lost track of time, the music enveloping him as he weaved through verses, delicate and powerful, laughter and sorrow entwining in each lyric he sung. The sunlight transformed into a gentle embrace, wrapping around him as he surrendered to the rhythm, allowing the melodies to seep into the crevices of his soul. With each note, he came to terms with his identities as both healer and dreamer, crafting a tapestry of his past and present. Hours passed until he finally set the guitar down, breathless and filled with a renewed vitality. The heaviness that had once clung to him had dissipated into the music that lingered in the air, vivid and alive. "I can do this," he said aloud, the realization settling into his bones. Emboldened by his newfound resolve, Miguel returned to the hospital the next day, ready to embrace his dual calling. He began sharing snippets of songs he'd written with his patients, bringing the melodies of hope to those trapped in their own silent struggles. The conversations that blossomed were unexpected, warm pulses of connection igniting in moments of vulnerability. One afternoon, he found himself sitting with a terminally ill patient named Clara. Her spirit was dimmed, clouded by the weight of uncertainty. Miguel shared a few lines from the song he had written for her, lyrics reflecting the essence of life, love, and the promises of tomorrow. "Can I sing it for you?" he asked hesitantly, feeling the warmth of her smile urging him on. "Yes, please," she whispered, eyes widening with anticipation. Taking a deep breath, he strummed his guitar softly, pouring his heart into the melody. Clara's eyes sparkled with newfound light. She sang along softly, their voices blending seamlessly, lifting the heaviness that surrounded them. With each chorus, Miguel felt the transformative power of music. It was no longer an isolated dream, but a shared experience, a balm for wounds that ran deep. As Clara's smile widened and her laughter echoed like the sweetest melody, he realized that he had stepped into the role of not just a doctor, but a storyteller, a source of solace and joy. Days turned into weeks, and with every performance for his patients, he rediscovered pieces of himself he thought were gone. Music became the bridge that connected his two worlds, allowing him to heal and be healed alongside those he served. However, the biggest test awaited him one evening when he found himself at an open mic night at a local cafe. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Excitement buzzed as people gathered to share their talents. Nervous but excited, Miguel stepped onto the stage, gripping the mic tightly. The crowd quieted as he took a deep breath, heart racing. "This is for all the dreamers who gave up hope," he began, and as he began to sing, a wave of emotion washed over him. "Maybe tomorrow I'll find my way back to the music." His voice trembled, but passion surged through him, carrying him beyond the fear. The room was entranced as the melody wrapped itself around every listener, bringing forth tears and laughter. Voices joined his, the audience harmonizing, a beautiful cacophony of spirits rekindled. As the final chords sang out, applause erupted, enveloping Miguel like a comforting embrace. Tears streamed down his cheeks. It wasn't just a performance, it was a resurrection. In that moment, Miguel understood. The music was not separate from being a doctor. It was essential. It breathed life into his work, helped him connect with the very souls he aimed to heal. The rest of the night was filled with conversations, laughter, and stories shared with complete strangers, all woven together by the common thread of music that had sparked anew. It was a night of rebirth, an affirmation that he could navigate the complexity of his roles with grace. As he walked home, the stars twinkled above like shimmering reminders of old dreams and new beginnings. Miguel felt whole again, intertwined with the melodies of his past and the promise of tomorrow. Each step felt lighter, filled with purpose. "Tomorrow will be different," he whispered to the night, newfound belief settling in his soul. It was a journey still unfolding, but with every note, every connection, he was reclaiming not only his music, but himself. Please confirm if you would like to continue with Mate Block 5, The Challenge. As winter gave way to spring, Miguel found himself at a crossroads. The music had woven seamlessly into his life, infusing it with vibrancy and connection. Yet with growth came obstacles, new challenges that would test his resolve and the balance he had fought so hard to achieve. One crisp morning, as he strolled through the hospital's bustling corridors, he overheard a group of nurses discussing a patient who had passed away unexpectedly. Clara, the woman whose spirit he had helped lift during their sessions together, was now lost to the world. A heavy silence fell over the room. The spontaneous warmth Miguel had felt post-performance began to chill. Miguel's heart sank as he grappled with the lingering feelings of loss, a cocktail of regret and grief. It wasn't just the loss of Clara, it was a realization of his vulnerability as a healer. He could extend a hand, share laughter and joy through music, but ultimately, he could not control fate. That day, he barely made it through his rounds, a fog hanging in the corners of his mind. Later, as he picked up his guitar in his living room, he found his fingers faltering on the strings. What had once been a source of joy now felt fractured, a constant reminder of his limitations. The chords felt heavy, the melodies stifled. He tossed the guitar aside and sank into a chair. Doubt crept in again, a curtain slowly drawn over the light that had filled his spirit. "Miguel!" Elena's voice startled him as she stepped through the door. "I brought dinner." I thought you might want some company. He managed a weak smile, though the shadows on his face told another story. Thanks, Elena. I just need some time. Elena set the food down and took a seat across from him. What's going on? I can see it in your eyes. With a heavy sigh, he confessed, It's Clara. Her passing, it hurts. I thought I was helping her, and then, what difference did it really make? His voice fractured, a testament to his inner turmoil. But it did matter. You brought her joy in her last days. She smiled and laughed because of you and the music. Elena insisted, her tone unwavering. You can't blame yourself for the things beyond your control. But guilt weighed him down. The echoes of Clara's laughter felt like a dagger, and the music that had once healed him now twisted in his gut. What's the point of singing if I can't save them? He murmured, staring into his lap. Elena reached across the table, her hand comforting him. It's not always about saving. Sometimes it's about living fully until the end, and you gave her that gift. Your music was part of her journey. It brought her peace. With every word, she illuminated a flicker of light within him. But I feel so helpless, Elena. What if I can't do this anymore? What if the music turns into more pain? Have you stopped to think that the pain doesn't erase the beauty? Music has always had the power to heal, inspire, and connect. It can carry you through the shadows too, she replied, her voice soft but firm. That night, as he lay awake in bed, he wrestled with the paradox of life and death. The music that flowed through him was bound by the essence of experience, of joy and sorrow, mingling together in a dance. He understood now that the power of his gift lay in its authenticity, in the rawness of the human experience. In the days that followed, Miguel found himself returning to the intimate sessions with his patients, allowing himself to be vulnerable. Music flowed through him in new ways as he connected with each individual story, confronting hardship and celebrating resilience. He opened himself up, pouring his heart into every performance. He invited the complexity of life into his songs, yet the shadows persisted, lingering just at the edges of his mind, urging him to retreat from the spotlight. A particularly daunting moment emerged when a local venue called him to collaborate on a larger project, a monthly music showcase highlighting community stories. Excitement mingled with dread in the pit of his stomach. The pressure felt insurmountable. Standing in front of the mirror one morning, he practiced the lines he prepared for the meeting. I'm Miguel, a doctor and a musician. I want to share our stories through music. But the words felt hollow. The anticipation of sharing felt like a mountain he wasn't sure he could climb. As the day of the meeting arrived, Miguel found himself pacing nervously in front of the venue. The old walls seemed to whisper doubts, steeped in echoes of past performances that lingered in his mind. The other artists who showed up had impeccable resumes, years of experience, and booming fan bases. Who was he to join their ranks with a few notes and a dream? Murmurs fluttered in the air like moths to a flame as he sat down at a table with the event coordinator. We want to highlight individual stories, how music can heal communities, she explained with enthusiasm. When his turn finally arrived, Miguel felt the walls closing in, the room spinning wildly around him. He began to speak, but faltered, the words trapped in his throat. Then, in that moment of silence, something within him shifted. Clara's laughter echoed through his mind, igniting a spark. Gathering every ounce of courage, he began to share not only his vision, but the experiences that shaped him into this very moment. The sweetness of music tempered by the sting of loss. He spoke of how music connected him to his patients, crafted moments of joy from the brink of despair, and the lingering hope that resided in shared human experiences. With each word, the tension began to dissolve, replaced with genuine interest. The coordinator leaned in, captivated and moved by the sincerity of his presence. It sounds wonderful, Miguel. Your openness will resonate with others. Let's bring this to life. That sense of acceptance washed over him, lifting burdens he had held for far too long. He realized he didn't need to prove anything to anyone. He simply needed to be himself. In the weeks that followed, Miguel poured his thoughts and emotions into the project. The showcase developed into a celebration of shared stories, healing through music birthed from pain, love, and loss. Unexpected friendships formed with fellow artists who opened their hearts and shared their struggles. As the performance night approached, Miguel stood before a crowd that had become a mirror of his journey, ready to share the stories behind the songs. The connection he felt with the audience pulsed like a heartbeat. a reminder that through the challenges of life, there was always room for hope, healing, and rebirth. The spotlight illuminated him as he took a deep breath, ready to embrace the complexities still swirling in his heart. Music would guide him through the shadows, not around them, and in that resolute moment, Miguel understood his truest calling: to share the beauty woven within every challenge. Please confirm if you would like to continue with Cargo Santa Block 6, The Resolve. The night of the showcase arrived, draping the town in an electric atmosphere filled with excitement and anticipation. The community clambered inside the local venue, its space illuminated with soft lights that bobbed gently like flickering stars. Miguel stood backstage, heart thumping against his chest, feeling alive yet vulnerable, caught between duty and passion. He glanced around at the other artists, their faces a blend of nerves and determination, each breathing life into their own stories. It was a collective tapestry of loss and hope. They had all come together under one roof to showcase their resilience through music. But tonight was more than just a performance for him. It was a reckoning with his own fears, a promise to himself and to the world that he would embrace the healing power of song. "Miguel, you can do this," Elena whispered as she approached, her presence soothing amidst the chaos. She had been a steady anchor through every storm, always encouraging him to reach deeper within himself. "Just remember, it's not about perfection, it's about connection." He nodded, feeling the weight of her words settle comfortably around him. As the crowd settled into their seats, the chatter faded, replaced by an expectant hush. Miguel took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage, the warm glow of the lights embracing him. For a moment, he was overwhelmed by the sight of eager faces looking back at him, fragile and strong at once, united in their yearning for connection. He opened with a simple melody, the chords flowing easily under his fingers. "Thank you all for being here tonight. I want to share something personal," he began, voice steadying as he connected with the audience, feeling the warmth of their shared energy surge back toward him. "Music has been my lifeline in times of darkness, a beacon that guided me when I thought I was lost." As he spoke, he could see the faces in the crowd nodding, as if they understood the weight of his journey. Clara's laughter rippled through his memory, mingling with the pain of loss, but also fueling his resolve. He introduced the first song, a celebration of life, love, and the threads that bind us through both light and sorrow. With the first notes drifting into the air, the room fell into a reverent silence. Each lyric unfolded like a flower in bloom, inviting the audience into the depths of his heart. The melody danced with stories, remembrances of laughter shared with patience, the weight of sorrow, and the beauty of resilience that bloomed without warning, even in the harshest winters. As he transitioned to the chorus, he felt the rhythm swell around him, the audience humming along. Their voices melded with his, creating a tapestry so beautiful it stirred tears in his eyes. He could see Clara's face in the crowd, smiling, encouraging him as he embraced this powerful moment, a journey of healing that had transcended pain into a celebration of life. With each song, he felt the layers of doubt peel away. He shared passages about experiencing joy and heartbreak, a glimpse into his battle with vulnerability, a meditation on the complexities and wonder of being human. In that sanctuary of sound, he became not just a musician, but a storyteller, thanking the universe for the intertwining narratives that connected them all. As he played the final song, he poured every ounce of emotion into it, a love letter to the community, a heartfelt tribute to those he had lost, and a reminder that every chord struck was full of untold stories waiting to be shared. The crescendo pulsed like a heartbeat, reverberating through the venue and gathering strength from the hopeful energy of those present. When the last note hung in the air, a beautiful silence enveloped the audience before thunderous applause erupted like a tempest. With tears streaming down his face, Miguel took a humble bow, overwhelmed by the moment. He hadn't just performed, he had forged lasting connections. As the applause subsided, he stepped down from the stage, overwhelmed by a myriad of emotions. People began to approach him, some with tears in their eyes, others with warm hugs, sharing their own stories of hope and resilience inspired by his music. Miguel felt the weight of his own struggles being lifted. They were no longer his alone. Elena stood nearby, beaming with pride. "You did it! You opened hearts tonight, Miguel. Your music matters," she said, wrapping her arms around him. The conversations flowed in waves, each one revealing the depth and spectrum of human experience, a shared tapestry of pain and healing that stitched everyone together. Miguel found himself immersed in a profound sense of gratitude. Healing was not a solitary journey. It was a communal effort, buoyed by the strength of those willing to share their truths. In the warmth of the cafe, Miguel felt an unyielding resolve settle deep within him. This was his purpose, to be a conduit for healing, weaving the power of music into the fabric of his life and the lives of those he served, both as a doctor and as a musician. The shadows that had previously tainted his spirit no longer held a grip on him. Instead, they had become a part of the song, enriching it, adding depth to the melody. Later that night, as he walked home beneath a blanket of stars, Miguel felt a renewed sense of self blooming within him, a sense of belonging and acceptance. He carried the memories of Clara and all those he'd touched through music as guiding stars, illuminating the path ahead. Tomorrow will be different, and every day after that, he murmured to himself, feeling the weight of expectation lift, replaced by the lightness of possibility. The challenges would come. They always did. But he now understood that every struggle only deepened his ability to connect, to heal, and to share the magic of music. Emboldened by this journey, he knew he would face whatever lay ahead with an open heart, ready to embrace the gifts of vulnerability and authenticity, both in his life as a physician and as a bearer of stories that deserve to be told. Please confirm if you would like to continue with Block 7, The Resolution. As dawn light filtered through his window, Miguel awoke with a sense of purpose. The previous night had ignited something deep within him, a commitment to embrace music as both a healer and a storyteller. He dressed with intent, the warmth of memories shared at the showcase still flickering in his heart. Arriving at the hospital, he felt invigorated. Each patient visit became a note in a larger symphony, imbuing his medical practice with depth and understanding. He approached patients not only as a doctor, but as a fellow traveler navigating life's challenges. For each conversation, he shared stories of hope, love, and the healing magic of music. During one encounter, Miguel met Harold, an elderly man grappling with terminal illness. "You know, music helped me navigate some tough waters," Miguel confided, feeling a bond grow between them. Harold's eyes sparkled with recognition. "Sometimes it's all we have left," he replied, echoing the complexity of human experience. As days turned into weeks, Miguel began integrating music into his practice. He organized gatherings where colleagues and patients shared songs and stories, creating a warm environment of connection. "It's not just about the notes. It's about the connections we forge," he expressed with passion. Eleanor remained his steadfast supporter through this transformative journey. Together, they designed a community outreach project that combined healthcare with musical therapy, allowing people to heal through shared experiences. One afternoon, while playing his guitar on the porch, Miguel thought of a song he had penned for Clara, a tribute to loss and resilience. Every note reminded him of the strength born from grief. Elena's gentle encouragement resonated in his mind. "Every note you play is your essence shining through," she always said. The months passed quickly, and Miguel began performing at local nursing homes, witnessing firsthand the joy music brought to those yearning for connection. One evening, he played for a room full of children facing illnesses, their laughter intertwining with his music, creating a tapestry of hope and healing. With each performance, he found deeper meaning in his role. He understood that challenges would remain, but he now approached them with an open heart. Each struggle transformed into an opportunity to foster connection and share stories that affirmed life's beauty. The night of a community concert arrived. Under a canopy of stars, Miguel unveiled a new song titled "Together We Rise," embodying resilience and the spirit of unity. The audience sang along, their voices a powerful echo of shared experience and community spirit. As applause erupted after the final notes faded, Miguel was overwhelmed with gratitude. This was more than a performance. It was a celebration of life and connection woven together by the healing power of music. As he walked off stage that night, he felt lighter, burdened less by fear and isolation. The journey he had taken brought him to a peaceful realization. He was not just a physician or a musician, but a weaver of stories, dedicated to sharing hope and healing through every chord and lyric. The busy roads of life stretched ahead, but Miguel embraced them with renewed strength. He settled into a rhythm of purpose, music and medicine intertwined. both affirming his commitment to connect, heal, and uplift those around him. And in that blend, he found his true self illuminated by the melodies of shared humanity. Now, with every note he played and every story he shared, he celebrated both the challenges and triumphs, proud of the healing journey that lay both behind and ahead. Miguel carried forth a promise to himself and to others to keep sharing the beauty of life, one song at a time. The story's conclusion encapsulates Miguel's transformative journey, highlighting the enduring power of music as a means of connection, healing, and love. His life continues to unfold, promising new beginnings and explorations as he embraces his roles as a physician and musician, committed to the stories waiting to be told.